First, a family's fury at the council rate hike that defies belief. The rates on Mary and Steve's place quadrupled from $3,000 a year to $12 grand. But when the mother and son challenged it, all hell broke loose.
There aren't many of us who think we get great value for our council rates, but some councils are just having a lend of us. So when these families copped a bill for curbs and gutters built 16 years ago, they refused to pay.
Found herself owing $30,000 in unpaid rates and penalty interest to her council.
It was a collection agency that came from the council. They were going to take the house if I didn't pay the full amount.
They are heartless.
He's treating us like dogs.
We've seen some low acts during the pandemic, this one by our government.
They have done whatever they wanted to, and leaving us on the street, I would say.
You do not own your home the way you think you own it. There is a bill coming from a council you did not choose, under rules a state treasurer wrote, for an amount you never agreed to, worked out on a number you have never seen. For one homeowner on the New South Wales North Coast, that bill hit $4,716 in a single year, a 39% jump in a year the law capped rate rises at 4%. Your council is capped, your bill is not. By the end of this, you will know why both of those sentences are true.
Steve Dacos and his mother Mary claim Whittlesea Council grossly overvalued their 10-hectare property at $4.8 million. Their rates quadrupled from $3,000 a year to more than $12,000 a year.
Well, they don't care about people that have worked hard all their life.
$3,000 to $12,000. Not a fee for a service they asked for, not a price they could shop around. Steve and Mary's council decided their land was worth $4.8 million, and their annual bill moved by $9,000 off the back of that decision. Understand what that means for you. Council rates are not a bill for rubbish collection. They are an annual tax on a thing you already bought, levied on a valuation you had no part in, and if you cannot pay it, the thing itself is what secures the debt.
It was a collection agency that came from the council. They were going to take the house if I didn't pay the full amount.
She was able to chip away at her debt, but she says the council refused to provide meaningful hardship assistance.
It felt like they didn't believe me. It felt like the money was more important for them.
A collection agency. Not a reminder letter, not a phone call from someone at the counter. An agency, engaged by a council, telling a woman recovering from severe depression that the house was going. And she is not an outlier. In Victoria, the Ombudsman examined all 79 councils and found that 97% of them use debt collectors, and 48% have no rate waiver provision at all. If you fall behind on your rates, the odds are your council's response is already outsourced.
What can you get by on?
Yeah, look, the age pension's about $23,000 a year for a single person, $33,000 for a couple. So you probably add another sort of $3,000 or $4,000 onto that.
$23,000 a year. That is what a single pensioner has to run a household on, and out of it comes a rates bill that in most of the country now sits somewhere between $1,200 and $2,500. Against that, the relief on offer in New South Wales is a concession of up to $250. Not $250 indexed, not $250 adjusted, $250 written into the Local Government Act in 1993 and never moved since, while the bill it is meant to soften has more than doubled.
Pensioner Jennifer Scatini has budgeted her weekly shop down to the last dollar.
I buy about 2 or 3 pieces of fruit, and that's all I can afford.
The 73-year-old who lives on the coast, south of Perth, was already struggling to make ends meet living on the pension.
Here is where you might switch off, because it sounds like someone else's problem. She rents, you own. So let me point it at you directly. The reason Jennifer counts fruit is not that she rents. It is that her income stopped moving and her bills did not. If you own your home outright, you have removed one bill from that list and left every other one in place. The rates notice is the one bill that follows you into retirement, rises without your consent, and is secured against the only asset you have left.
We didn't ask to get old and go on the age pension. I'd like to go out once a week, go to a cafe and have a coffee and toasted sandwich or something. But you go and get a loaf of bread and come home and make your own toasted sandwiches and your cup of coffee.
You will have heard that this is all under control. In Victoria, council rate rises for the 2026 financial year are capped at 2.75%. In New South Wales, the tribunal set every council's peg individually, and the core figures land between 2.5 and 4.2%. Those numbers are real, and they are the reason most people open the envelope expecting a small change. Steve and Mary's bill went up by $9,000 in a capped system. Hold that contradiction for a moment, because it is the whole story.
Thousands of them that this council lost for up to, wait for it, 16 years. It's been a long time coming.
Exactly. I think it's ridiculous. And on principle, I think it's wrong for the council to do such things to us.
4,000 accounts lost for 16 years, then posted out as live debts. And every one of those households was inside the cap the whole time. Here is the part nobody explains to you when the cap is announced. The cap does not apply to your bill. It applies to the council's total rates income. Councils write it down in plain English on their own websites when they think nobody is reading. Lithgow City Council states that the PEG applies to the council's total allowable rates income and not to each individual property owner's rates, and that an individual ratepayer's actual increase may be above that amount. Northern Beaches Council says the same thing. Rates for individual ratepayers may vary by more or less than the percentage allowable. So the cap is a promise made to the council's budget, not to your household. What decides your share is a separate number entirely, and it is set by someone you have never met.
Almost a third of all Australian mortgages have tumbled into stress, 1.5 million now teetering on the edge as the Australian homeownership dream becomes a curse.
I think it's sort of reaching crisis point.
1.5 million households already at the edge, and the number that decides their rates bill is not their income, not their mortgage, and not their ability to pay. It is the unimproved value of their land, set by a state valuer general who visits nothing and asks nobody. In New South Wales alone, more than 2.6 million parcels are valued this way every year. Then the council divides its capped total across those valuations. If your land rose faster than your neighbours, your share goes up, no matter what the cap says. On the Tweed coast, one property's land valuation rose 133% in a single revaluation cycle. Its general rate went to $4,716 a year, a 39% rise. In a year the PEG was 4%. The council collected no extra money. That homeowner paid $1,300 more. That is the mechanism, and it is working exactly as designed.
She enjoys her work, but says it's financial need that drives her.
It gives me just enough money to keep my head above water, because the pension, definitely doesn't cover those, any extras at all.
Bev is 67, on $926 a fortnight, and still driving to a farm in Ballarat to keep her head above water. Now put a rates bill she cannot meet on top of that, and watch what the system does next. In New South Wales, the maximum interest on overdue rates for the 2025 financial year is 10.5% a year, and it is calculated daily. In Queensland, the ceiling is higher again. 12.12%. In Victoria, the penalty rate councils are charging is 10%. Read what your own council says it will do. Forbes Shire Council writes that interest accrues daily, that it uses an external debt recovery agency for all outstanding rates, and that ratepayers should be aware the council has the authority to sell property to recover them. That is not a threat buried in legislation. That is on the rates page.
It's a troubling statistic. Homeowners facing repossession of their properties set to double. The latest figures from the New South Wales Supreme Court show 346 writs were issued for possession in the 6 months to June 30. That's 13 a week.
13 a week, and every one of those is a bank. If you own your home outright tonight, you have been listening to this as someone else's misfortune, because there is no bank to take your house. Here is the part that should change how you hear it. A mortgage is a debt you signed for and can refinance. Rates are a debt you cannot refuse, cannot renegotiate, and cannot escape by paying off your loan. Owning outright does not remove the lien on your home. It just changes who holds it.
It's not the retirement Bill Turner was hoping for.
I thought I'd have a little roof over my own head and enjoying what years I've got left.
In 2023, Bill lost his affordable housing.
The rent of $188 all of a sudden bloomed out to $400 a week.
A little roof over his own head. Here is what the law says about that roof. In Victoria, Section 181 of the Local Government Act lets a council sell your land once rates are more than 3 years overdue and no payment arrangement is running. In Queensland, it is also 3 years. In New South Wales, Section 713 sets the threshold at 5. And it is not theoretical relief for a broke council. When land is sold this way, the Registrar of Titles must register the transfer and must cancel any mortgage registered against it. Your bank's interest is wiped in the process. The council's is not. There is no arrangement you can make with a lender that outranks this. In breach of the Act, and still doing it. So what does the end of this road actually look like? It looks like a notice in the Government Gazette with your name on it. Midwestern Regional Council published one. It lists owners by name, their street addresses, and the amount owing. Keith Banjack, 73 Lindsay Street, Hargraves, $5,715. William Ward, 173 Clarks Road, Windire, $6,123. 4 names, 4 homes, none of them owing more than the price of a used car. All listed for public auction on a Friday morning at an RSL club. At Kempsey, the amounts on the auction list ran from $16,672 to $36,122, for rates stretching back years on properties worth many times that.
Been very hard for all of us. Oh no, it's not. It's not right at all. It's not fair.
Sorry. The emotional strain and financial strain, it's unbelievable. And council know this.
71 and 81 out of the house, still paying the mortgage on it. And the sales are not slowing down. They are being formalised into an annual routine. Sunshine Coast Council listed 26 properties with $424,000 in overdue rates and moved to begin sale proceedings in May this year. Central Highlands in Queensland issued its notices of intention to sell in February, with the auction expected this month. Hawkesbury resolved to sell 19 properties carrying $338,000 between them and put the notice in the Government Gazette in March. Murrumbidgee sold 10. Its mayor said the council will now move every February to sell properties with arrears older than 5 years and called it good business management.
Monica and Sam Sharon are grandparents, both in their 70s, and they're being forced out of their own home of 28 years right into the uncertainty of a COVID outbreak.
We didn't know they had a plan to build a car park here.
So where does this land for you on the bill sitting in your kitchen right now? The best case is that your land valuation moves roughly in line with your street, your share of the total does not shift, and your bill rises by something close to the cap you were told about. That is the outcome most people assume is guaranteed. It is not guaranteed. It is a coincidence of your neighbour's valuations. The realistic case is what is already in the data. Arrears are climbing faster than councils expected, and rates are the bill households defer first because they fall due last. One New South Wales council reported arrears at 12% against a state benchmark of under 10%, and its mayor was frank that a number of ratepayers are simply in hardship. The worst case has an official name and a form to fill in. The National Debt Helpline's advice to Australians whose council is threatening to sell their home is that they may be able to access their superannuation early to stop it. That is the escape hatch the system offers a retired homeowner. Empty your retirement to keep your roof.
Kevin has one home but two addresses. It makes everything from getting the mail and putting the bins out to paying energy and telco bills a nightmare. In almost a decade, there hasn't been a single government department who's been able to help Kevin. So he called us.
A decade, and not one department could fix an address. That is the same organisation that will not miss a single day of 10.5% interest on your account. None of this was bad luck. Every piece of it was a decision. Your state treasurer chose to announce a cap on council income and let the public believe it was a cap on their bill. 9 New South Wales councils applied to exceed even that this year, and the tribunal approved all 9. Hawkesbury alone at 8.66% a year, every year, for 4 years. Councils chose to keep the pensioner concession at $250 for 33 years, while the bill doubled. They chose to outsource collection to agencies. They chose to charge daily interest at levels no bank charges a home loan. And they chose to write, "We have the authority to sell your property," on a public web page and trust that nobody would read it. They did not take your home. They built a system where, if one bad year lands on you, the home takes itself. So do not leave that envelope on the bench. There are 5 things worth doing this month, and every one of them is free. Open your rates notice and find the land value, not the total. That number is the one deciding your share, and it is the only part you are legally allowed to challenge. Check it against what your neighbours' places are actually selling for. If it looks wrong, object, in writing, to the valuer general in your state, within the objection window printed on the notice. It is 60 days in New South Wales. Objecting costs nothing, and you must keep paying while it is assessed, so lodge it early rather than waiting. Ask your council for its hardship policy by name, and ask specifically about a waiver or a deferral, not a payment plan. The Ombudsman found councils routinely offer only the payment plan and stay quiet about the other 2. A deferral parks the debt. A payment plan does not stop the interest. Never let a rates debt go quiet. 3 years of silence is the trigger in Victoria and Queensland, 5 in New South Wales, and interest compounds daily the whole time. A phone call and a documented arrangement is what keeps you out of the Gazette. And if you are already behind, call the National Debt Helpline on 1-800-007-007 before you call the council. It is free, it is confidential, and financial counsellors negotiate rates debts every day. Going in with one behind you changes what the council will agree to. Your council will send that envelope again next July, and the July after that, for as long as you live in the house. The only question that matters is whether you know what is inside it before they do. So tell me below, what did your rates go up by this year, and did anyone ever explain why?